This is the 6th day of this October 1981 7-day sesshin. And we will continue with the first koan of the Blue Cliff record. It's a translation of the Zen classic by Thomas and J.C. Cleary. The first case being entitled, The Highest Meaning of the Holy Truths. The last sentence yesterday was, an ancient said, crushing your bones and dismembering your body would not be sufficient requital. When a single phrase is clearly understood, you leap over hundreds of millions. End of quote. Bodhidharma confronted the emperor directly. How he indulged. The emperor did not awaken. Instead, because of his notions of self and others, he asked another question. Who is it facing me? In another translation, since Bodhidharma had said, vast emptiness and nothing that can be called holy. In his other version, the emperor says, aren't you a holy man? Who are you facing me? Aren't you a holy man, after all? And here, the commentary by Wan Wu goes on. Bodhidharma's compassion was excessive. Again he addressed him saying, I don't know. This is quite a traditional way of Zen commentary to praise masters, patriarchs. Sometimes to praise by deprecation. Always a little bit admiration for the man. His compassion was excessive. How can compassion ever be excessive? He just said, I don't know. When compassion is true compassion, there's no thought of compassion. At this, Emperor Wu was taken aback. He didn't know what Bodhidharma meant. Because he didn't know, because he was in the know. Just living in what he knew and had read and had recited and had memorized. All the praises he had got for it. All the ideas. His role as an emperor and as a Buddhist expounder of the Dharma. There being this holy thing about the Dharma. So he didn't know what Bodhidharma meant. When you get to this point, says Yuan Wu, don't know how to pronounce him properly. When you get to this point, as to whether there is something or there isn't anything, pick and you fail. Let me read this again. When you get to this point as to whether there is something or there isn't anything, pick and you fail. Is there something? Is there nothing? I gotta hold on to something. I'm afraid of facing nothing. In Hu and Mu can there be no choice? As was said at one time here in the Zen, or no choice. Yuan Wu goes on and says, Master Shao Tuan had a verse which said, ordinarily a single arrow fells a single eagle. Another arrow is already too many. Bodhidharma goes right back to sit before Few Houses Peak. It must be that mountain area where he settled down in a cave. O Lord of Liang, speak no more of going to summon him. Lord of Liang being the emperor. Meaning here Bodhidharma spoke twice and was not understood. Implied in this poem, you should speak once and it should be understood. Well, why have any notions about how many times? 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. Just if it's once understood. And then it must be understood freshly. Again. From moment to moment. Yuan Wu goes on, he also said, who wants to summon him back? Since Emperor Wu did not understand, Bodhidharma secretly left the country. At that time China was not united. All this old fellow got was embarrassment. Thoroughly embarrassed the emperor. What merit have I got? None whatsoever. As man who thought he understood. Lotus flowers fell when he was expounding the sutras. He crossed the Yangtze River into Wei. At the time, the Xiaoming emperor of Wei was reigning there. This emperor belonged to a northern tribe called Toba, who were later to call themselves Chinese. When Bodhidharma arrived there, he did not appear for any more audiences. He felt he had done enough talking. But went directly to Shaolin Monastery, where he sat facing a wall for 9 years and met the second patriarch. People thereabouts called him the wall-gazing Brahmin. He'd come from India. But actually, since he was the son of a king, he wasn't of the Brahmin caste. In India, there's this rigid caste system. The Brahmin is the highest class. Priests, interpreters of the holy scriptures. But not everyone who's born in the Brahmin class is necessarily a priest. It's a caste. You're born into it. That's where you are. Kings are below that. And then there are the outcasts. Don't belong to any caste. I just read recently an item where the outcasts, or someone trying to make them more socially aware, give them a social consciousness and awareness, are sort of fed up with both Hinduism and Buddhism, and they're now turning to Muslim. They're being converts to Islam, which is, of course, very likely a political thing. Apparently Islam is trying to get their vote or something, taking them into their fold. Because Buddhism, suppose, is not very strong in India anymore. And the Hindus have failed, the outcasts, even though there have always been people to try to break down this caste system. Buddha already tried to break it down. We do want to belong, and one of the characteristic and satisfying features of belonging is that there is someone who doesn't belong. Emperor Wu of Liang. Let's talk about this. Sitting in this cave, facing the wall for 9 years. I received a letter recently. Someone wrote me, who was in China. A Buddhist dream come true. I sat in Bodhidharma's cave. Did the dream end right there? Where is the cave? Where is it? And what's the dream? Emperor Wu of Liang later questioned Master Chi. We mentioned yesterday, this was someone there at the court, came and went. Maybe, I don't know too much about it. It was supposed to be an incarnation of Avalokiteshvara, of Kanon, Kanze, and Bodhisattva of compassion. He appears sometimes in a koan. Chi said, "Does your Majesty know who this man is?" The emperor said, "I don't know." Now here the commentator again, Wan Wu, says, "Tell me, is this 'I don't know' the same as what Bodhidharma said? Or is it different?" As Chi said to the emperor, "Do you know who this was?" He says, "No, I don't know. I don't know. Is that the same as Bodhidharma's? I don't know." In appearance, it indeed seems the same, but in reality, it isn't. When somebody asks you, "Do you know such and such?" and you say, "No, I don't," isn't there in the mind the expectation of that it can be known, that you can look it up? Maybe the questioner can give you the answer, or maybe you'll find it in a book. Or ask somebody else. "I don't know it right now, but I'll know it. It's knowable. I just don't have the name for it. That's it. I don't have the name for it. Or the description of it, or the explanation for it." Wan Wu goes on, people often misunderstand and say, before, when Bodhidharma said, "I don't know," he was replying about Chan, about Zen. Whatever that is. The highest truth, what is it? Later, when the emperor answered Master Chi, this referred to the knowledge of mutual acquaintance. Knowledge here in a quotation mark. But Wan Wu says this is irrelevant. Tell me, when Master Chi questioned him, how could Wu have answered? Do you know who this was? Do you know who you were facing? Do you know who you are? Wan Wu continues, why didn't he strike Chi dead with a single blow and avoid being seen as a fool? Doesn't mean to murder him. Doesn't mean to wipe away all complications. Instantly. Instead, Emperor Wu answered sincerely and said, I don't know. Master Chi saw his chance and acted. He said, this is the Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara transmitting the Buddha's seal. Interesting put. He saw his chance and acted. You turned Kanon away. Bodhisattva of love and compassion. Do you realize what you did? The emperor felt regret and was going to send an emissary to bring Bodhidharma back. How stupid. When Chi said, this is Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, transmitting the Buddha's seal, if Wu had driven him out of the country, this would have amounted to something. Driven this Master Chi out of the country. No more names. According to tradition, Master Chi died in the year 514, while Bodhidharma came to Liang in 520. Since there's a 7-year discrepancy, why is it said that the two met? This is this commentator saying. Actually, scholars are in vast disagreement as to the existence of even Bodhidharma. And here Wan Wu is of 11th, 12th century, something like that, says this must be a mistake in the tradition. As to what is recorded in tradition, I will not discuss this matter now. All that's important is to understand the gist of the matter. Tell me, Bodhidharma is Avalokiteshvara, Master Chi is Avalokiteshvara, but which is the true Avalokiteshvara? Since it is Avalokiteshvara, why are there two? But why only two? They are legion. It's only thought and thinking that entangles, not love and compassion. Later in Wei, Bodhidharma debated with the Vinaya master Kuang Tung and the canonical master Bodhiruchi. Vinaya is that school of Buddhism where all the rules of proper behavior are collected, recorded, expounded, taught. 250 some odd, or maybe more, maybe less. Many of the Zen masters first became ordained into the Vinaya school. I guess it was a place to go where you learn the rules. Of course, the Vinaya people consider this as a prerequisite to enlightenment, to know and follow all the rules. We've read some of Bankei's comments on this one time. We won't go into it right now. But apparently Bodhidharma met up with a Vinaya master that already existed, and with the canonical master. Sometimes it's called Dharma master, Bodhiruchi. Dharma master, one who knows all the sutras and expounds and comments on the sutras. the master Bodhidharma eliminated formalism and pointed to mind. Because of their biased judgments, the other two would not put up with this, and instead develop feelings of malevolence and try to poison Bodhidharma several times. It's quite an elaborate description here in this book, but I brought along to give the name this time. It's called the Sixth Patriarch Sutra, with a commentary of Tripitaka Master Hua. He's contemporary. He lives in this golden city of Buddhas, or whatever it's called. And this is the Sino-American Buddhist Association, the Buddhist Text Translation Society of San Francisco. This came out in 1977. And he has quite elaborate description about these 6 times of poisoning of Bodhidharma by these 2 Vinaya and Dharma masters. 5 times Bodhidharma remained unaffected because there was still some work to be done. On the 6th attempt, here Yuan Wu continues, since his mission was completed, he had found someone to succeed to the Dharma. Bodhidharma made no further attempt to save himself, but sat upright and passed on. He was buried at Tingling Temple on Bear Ear Mountain afterwards. While somebody was on a mission, he met the master someplace in Xinjiang carrying one shoe in his hand, returning to India. That's a famous legend. A legend in the New Testament of somebody meeting Jesus. Carrying one shoe in his hand. It's an interesting way of walking. One of the koans, the Mumonkan Joshu, puts a shoe on his head and walks away. Usually shoes go on feet, but they don't have to. Emperor Wu mourned Bodhidharma's death and personally wrote an inscription for his monument. It read, "Alas, I saw him without seeing him. I met him without meeting him. I encountered him without encountering him. Now, as before, I regret this deeply." Further eulogized him by saying, "If your mind exists, you're stuck in the mundane for eternity." If your mind exists, this little mind, capital M, we all know what it is, don't we? Nothing to feel bad about it. It does operate and function most of the time, all of the time. If your mind does not exist, you experience wondrous enlightenment instantly. I wonder whether this emperor really understood, or whether he still repeated something he had read in the sutra. It doesn't say here. Tell me, Yuan Wu goes on, where is Bodhidharma right now? You've stumbled past him without even realizing it. Where's Bodhidharma right now? Where's the Buddha right now? Somebody saw Bodhidharma coming back. What if the Buddha came back right now? I sometimes wonder about this. What he would have to say. What he would say. This is occurred to many people. It's a very vivid scene in The Brothers Karamazov, where Ivan talks about Jesus coming back, nobody recognizing him. Of course, he's nailed on the cross again. There's this delightful movie, Oh God. Saw it many years ago. Missed recently, it was played on TV, but was too exhausted to watch it. If you have a chance to see it, do see it. It's really great. Little old man. This formidable, it's not a round table, it's a square table of the theologians, the representative of all the faiths, at least the Christian faith, because after all, it's the Christian God who comes back, the others don't care about that one. Not the Christian, it's also the Old Testament, Jehovah. Those two religions care about, the others could care less. And their question is poor John Denver. Assistant manager of a supermarket who doesn't like to put wax on cucumbers. Not so much that it's not healthy, but it's really trying to pretend the cucumbers are something that they're not. They're not shiny, naturally. So here he's questioned by these guys in their, I don't know what they're wearing. What did God wear? Yeah, what did he wear? He wore a baseball cap. A parka. I don't know whether there was a number on it. On the taxi permit it says God, number 1. 1. And he wore sneakers. Sometimes he was a busboy. And at one point, he was collecting trash in Central Park. And you always sort of waited, what is this guy's message? He didn't have a message. It's very simple. He said, be kind to each other. Can you care for each other? Because he puts on a few miracles. I think the movie had to sell. Oh, miracles in there. Becoming invisible. That's always the miracle of miracles, becoming invisible. It's so nice to be able to become invisible in a moment of great embarrassment. Tell me, where's Bodhidharma right now? And this is the verse. This verse by Sayadaw, who lived in the 10th century, made a verse to every koan, or to almost every. The holy truths are empty. How can you discern the point? Who's facing me? Again he said, I don't know. This is not the poem, this is just a comment. He walked away, though. He walked quite a distance and he sat. And he also eventually talked to somebody who wanted to learn. And as other accounts have it, he talked to quite a number of people, not just to one. To whoever came, asked questions or listened. So this I don't know was walking. Didn't sit just for 9 years. Also got up and urinated. Ate, slept. Henceforth, here it comes, he secretly crossed the river. How could he avoid the growth of a thicket of brambles? He'd already said too much, this is what it says. How could he avoid a growth of a thicket, the growth of a thicket of brambles, even if you don't say anything? There's going to be pictures and statues and all kinds of lore about this Bodhidharma. And the dream to sit in his cave. Though everyone in the whole world, in the whole country goes after him, he will not return. Find him yourself. Wu goes on and on, vainly reflecting back. Wu the emperor. Mourning rather than looking into himself. Who am I? What is truth? What is vast emptiness? Give up recollection, says the poem. Give up recollection. Of course, if you ask who is giving it up, I don't know. Is one looking for one's refuge in recollections. And to see that and not to fall for it, not to be entangled in that. But keep on questioning. Right now, not recollections. And Setcho, or Suedao, Setcho in Japanese, continues, what limit is there to the pure wind circling the earth? What limit is there to the pure wind circling the earth? We're talking in the opening talk about Umwon's response to someone asking, what if the tree withers and all the leaves fall, drop away? What then? And Umwon, body exposed in the autumn wind. But not to make a new image out of this. One person said that. When you speak about the wind, then an image comes up, and that's no help. As we try to avoid images in talks as much as possible. All right, in an opening talk. But images become something again to look for, to identify with. Whereas this work is going on in no images, no knowing. The wind and the turbulence is all that comes up. Can that be faced directly, imagelessly and wordlessly? It's the who, it's the moo. What is it? The master, Sedao, looked around to the right and left and said, "Is there any patriarch here?" And then he answered himself, "There is. Call him here to wash this old monk's feet." Comes the commentary by Yuan Wu. We'll leave out a paragraph and a half of praising Secho's poem. Then it goes on. The holy truths are empty. How can you discern the point? Tell me, after all, how will you discern the point? Even if you have an iron eye or a copper eye, still you will search without finding. It's not with the eyes that one sees. Or is it? Or is it something much, much deeper? Yuan Wu continues, when you get here, can you figure it out by means of emotive consciousness? You know this emotive consciousness. Almost all of you reported in Doksan. How much you want this thing. One person remarked, with the Raksu's gone, at least that pressure is gone. Not just one person said that. Wanting to grab, to have something. And then feeling frustrated when one can't get it. This is the emotive consciousness. Which is, in this particular work, an enormous waste of energy. When this is not wasted but collected, gathered in the who and the moo. And there aren't these ups and downs of highs and lows, great feeling and disappointment and despair. Or when they come, who, moo? One has brought them about through some comparison, through some expectation, through some memory or anticipation. How will one meet them? With more of the same or something entirely different? Not knowing, not diagnosing. But who? Moo. Right there, right in the midst of the thicket. Not knowing the way out, not knowing the outcome. There may be none. You don't know. All you know is projection. When you get here, can you figure it out by means of emotive consciousness? This is why Umon said, it's like flint-struck sparks, like flashing lightning, meaning immediacy, directness, not via figuring it out, thinking, pondering, reflecting. Which does not mean that there aren't times when one needs to think something through. And then take it for what it is. See how far one gets with it, thinking one thing completely through. And then where is one? This little bit, says Wan Wu, this little bit does not fall within the scope of mental activity, intellectual consciousness, or emotional conceptions. If you wait till you open your mouth, what good will it do? As soon as judgment and comparison arise, the falcon has flown past Korea. Buddha once said, if you're hit by an arrow, if you try to figure out who was it that shot the arrow, was it a Brahmin or this or that, you'll die before this thing is pulled out. Or whoever pulls it out, is he such and such? Is he entitled to do it? Or I don't remember the exact things. Pull it out! Or let somebody pull it out. Seidao says, how will all you monks distinguish the real point? Who is facing the emperor? Who's sitting there? He adds the line again, he said, I don't know. Now tell me, are empty and I don't know the same or different? If you're someone who is personally understood completely, you will understand without anything being said. For the sake of compassion, Seidao versifies what happened. Henceforth, Bodhidharma secretly crossed the river. How could he avoid the growth of a thicket of brambles? Bodhidharma originally came to this country to melt the sticking points, untie the bonds, pull out the nails and draw out the pegs of this whole structure that had already been built up. About the Buddha's teaching. To cut down brambles for people, snags, things in which one is caught. Why then say that he gave rise to a thicket of brambles? This is not confined to those times. Today the brambles under everyone's feet are already several yards deep. That was said in 1200. Seidao feared that people would pursue intellectual views, so he swung open the gate and brought out his own understanding, saying, "Give up recollecting. What limit is there to the pure wind circling the earth? Once you give up recollection, what will become of the affairs you busy yourselves with? That's a worry. Or what will become of me after I come out of this sesshin?" That's just speculation and thinking. Can one abstain from such brambles? There's no end to such thinking. After you're out of sesshin, you're not going to stop worrying what's going to become of you. What's going to become of me if I don't get back into sesshin? Why not not find out what you are right now, rather than what's going to become of you? Delving deeply inwardly with this questioning, not knowing. Sayadaw picks up the numberless concerns of all ages, throws them down before you. And this is not confined to Sayadaw's time. What limit is there? All of you people, what limit is there on your part? When you know there's nothing but limits, when you don't know, what limit is there? And when that old friend fear comes up, fear of insecurity, fear of dying, don't know it. Don't know it. But question. Who or mu? And what limits, what obstacles, what barriers are there? If you practice your work as shikantaza, your whole sitting, can it be one vast not knowing? And yet attending without knowing. We'll end here for today. The four vows.
All beings without number,
I vow to liberate endless blind passion. I vow to uproot Dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of the Buddha. I vow to attain all being without number. I vow to liberate endless blind passion. I vow to uproot Dharma gates measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of the Buddha. I vow to attain all beings without number. I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot Dharma gaze beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of the Buddha. I vow to attain